Hi, I'm Lisa Moore and I'm an interior designer in Reno, Nevada. I own Mindful Design and today we're in my design studio where I'm going to show you how I'm going to approach a penny floor installation. What I'd like to do is take you through the process step by step from beginning to end. We're standing in my kitchen right now and this is the area that will be receiving the penny installation. Actually, it'll be the guest bath, the laundry area, and the kitchen. And it's approximately 100 square feet. As you can see with the old vinyl, I have a lot of pitting and scarring, and the vinyl's pretty dated, so I really want to update my studio with a really fresh look. For this application, I'm going to be installing the pennies directly over the existing vinyl. In the next step, I'd like to show you how I assembled my penny sheets ahead of time, so when it comes to the installation, it'll only take me a few days. To create my penny sheets, I started out with this frame, which is approximately 12 by 12, and I picked it up at a local craft store. And what I'll be doing is putting the pennies directly on the glass. So I put my pennies down and simply just start making rows with the pennies. And after making a few of these, I realized that each sheet took approximately 270 pennies, or 270 a square foot. And you'll notice after you have the first row made, the second row of pennies is a little bit offset. So you just keep assembling the pennies, and the picture frame really creates a nice framework so your pennies don't slide around. And you may be able to notice as I form this, and I'll show another example as we get further along, but as the rows start to come together, you'll see that each row is off. When it's offset, it'll end up creating an interlocking pattern, and that'll be important when we put the pennies on the floor. So now I have a full sheet of pennies on top of my 12 by 12 picture frame. On top of the pennies, I put a clear sheet of contact paper, and I just found this roll at the store. It's already 12 inches wide, which is really convenient. And for each sheet, I just measured out about the size I would need and cut it to size, peel off the backing, and apply. You can either use your hands and press firmly to make sure the pennies are all attached to the contact paper, or you can use a small ruler or straight edge to get the same result. Now that that's complete, you use a simple piece of cardboard and place it on top of the frame and flip it over. And there you have it, one square sheet of pennies. The penny sheets are all assembled, and the next step was to prep the existing vinyl floor. After the baseboards were removed, I used a simple utility knife to cut away any areas in the vinyl that were damaged, as well as the edges of the vinyl that were starting to curl up. After all that debris was removed and my vinyl was clean and dry, I used a universal patch and skim coat available at Lowe's to go back in and patch those areas in the vinyl that I had removed. The next step was to go over the entire vinyl floor with a very thin skim coat. Working with the skim coat was really a difficult process for me, so I'd advise talking to a professional before you begin so you can get some solid advice. It's really important to have a really smooth surface to work with. When I had my skim coat dry, it was rough, so I used a finishing sander with a coarse 60 grit to come in and really smooth out the surface. Here's an example of the surface that has been smoothed out. As you can see, we're at the opening for the stove, and I've only come in with the skim coat about 3 or 4 inches. And that's really important because the penny is actually a heat conductor. We don't want any heat buildup under the stove next to the cabinets for safety reasons. So that's why we're only coming in just a few inches. My next step in the process was to bring the penny sheets in and lay them on the floor in a dry application. There's two reasons for this. You want to make sure you have enough material ready to go, and there's also going to be areas where you only need a partial sheet of pennies. And this will allow you to pre-cut those sheets and have them in place ready to go. Now when I install my pennies, I'll be using a vinyl adhesive product, and what I'm going to do is remove an entire row of pennies at a time, place my adhesive on the floor, and then set my pennies. You'll notice that I've done my dry application with the contact paper down because it's quite delicate. When I install these, when I do one row at a time, I'll simply flip these pennies over, put it onto the adhesive, press these into place with a rolling pin, and then I'll be able to remove my contact paper from the surface. The penny floor is installed, and I'd like to show you a few of the products that I used to complete the installation. To adhere the pennies to the floor, I used a simple vinyl adhesive that I picked up at Lowe's, very affordable and really easy to work with. Once the pennies were completely laid over the floor, I decided to use an epoxy coating to protect the pennies and create a smooth finish. And this is a specialty UV stable crystal clear epoxy. It's a very expensive product. You'll want to do your research on this. This was purchased through a specialty company. And what's important about it being UV stable is any amount of indirect sunlight can cause it to yellow. So even though this floor doesn't get much sunlight, I wanted to make sure it was going to stay nice and clear for years to come. So let's take a look at the finished product. Here it is, 27,000 pennies installed on my floor. It's absolutely fabulous. I'm thrilled with the results, and the floor is beautiful. When I made the penny sheets, I decided that I would let the pennies orient themselves. So pennies are heads up, they're tails, new pennies, old pennies, all mixed together. And that's what makes it so beautiful to me, is this rich patina and coloration. It took me about 100 hours to complete the project, which included about 25 hours creating the penny sheets and then about 10 days for the actual installation. So the finished product is unique, it was cost effective, it's a great conversation piece, and best of all, I was able to do it by myself. If you're going to embark on a project like this, the best advice I can give you is to seek out professionals around you who can really give you some sound advice to get you started. Even if that means paying for a consultation, your money will be well spent. Make sure you do your research thoroughly, take the time to prep, and most of all, be patient. If I can do it, you can do it.